Hey everyone. So I've done a bunch of new stuff lately, and I wanted to address a request from a while back for today's story because it happens to be a story that you've almost certainly seen the footage from, but you probably never knew what became of it all. And it holds a very special spot in Karen lore for me because today's main character, one Bianca Figueroa, is the Karen victim who fought back. And I mean that literally. The clip from September 2022 that we probably almost all saw, in which we can see what appears to clearly be deep into their confrontation and shows an old woman threatening to, quote, call ISIS on Bianca and her family who are Latino. And she was obviously confused or misspoke there or was trying to make some kind of tasteless joke and meant to say ICE, as in immigration and customs. And when Bianca responds by calling her out for bringing bigotry into the exchange, she does a very bizarre, overacted laugh, doubtlessly trying to project how laughably absurd it would be to call her out on what she just clearly did on camera, which is bring ethnicity into the exchange totally unnecessarily, as if it wasn't bad enough already what was going on. And I think she did that because she saw it was being recorded and thought this display would fool us. Let's take a look.
Police, come here! Yes, can you get the police here, please? Wonderful. Help! Wonderful. Help me! Fire! Help me! Help me! Help! Help me! Why are you videotaping this? What are you, like, should we call ISIS here? Oh my God. Or so that's like the fucking problem. That's the fucking problem. My skin color is your problem.
And she's a kindergarten teacher.
And you're a kindergarten teacher. Oh my God. Really? Oh my God. Really? Does that trigger you? That does not fucking trigger me.
So that whole thing obviously went very poorly, but it also caused a lot of internet chaos as it went viral because there were so many unknowns. The video racked up like 2.5 million views, which is a lot even for TikTok, where views mean a lot less than they do on YouTube. But people were dying to know what had actually happened, what they had just watched. Why was this lady so mad at a woman she didn't know who was half her age and with her family on the sidewalk in public? Why was she calling for the police? Was this woman really a kindergarten teacher? And was anyone triggered here? Just kidding. The woman was found pretty quickly, and her name is actually Sandra, or Sandy Jean Allen. Weirdly, I don't think this ever got picked up by the TikTok Karen Hunter guys, and it doesn't seem to have been picked up by any of the news outlets outside of the Daily Dot, but that might have been because she was so easily identified and found right off the bat. Oh, and as it turns out, when the internet started looking around for the kindergarten she teaches at to try to get her fired, which seems to just be standard procedure for the internet sleuths at this point, it turns out that she's not actually a teacher anymore. She's a retired kindergarten teacher. But the fact that she was ever teaching kindergarten is perhaps a bit concerning. But it didn't take long for Bianca, who appears to have a rather large following on TikTok, though I'm not sure that the size of that following really precedes this whole incident going down, to respond to the incident and answer some of the internet's burning questions about the chaotic showdown they'd just witnessed. And this is really where she gets into the weeds of what caused this whole thing, what the woman had said to her that initially set her off, the whole scene with the cops that happened afterward, and even the literal physical fight that she got into with this like 70-something-year-old woman. The backstory is even crazier than the clip.
So let me start off by preface by saying, I did not start this argument. I did not start this fight. All I was doing was standing up for myself. The whole stupid reason this started was because she was walking down a sidewalk. I was walking up a sidewalk, and she obviously looks like an older woman. So as soon as she was coming my way, I was directly going to be in front of her. So I kindly moved out of her way. As soon as I moved out of her way, she turns around and looks at me and she says, "As you should." At the time, I had three of my younger siblings looking at me, and I had my foster child looking at me. So I was like, you ain't about to get away with this, girl.
So obviously telling someone as you should when they like go out of their way to get out of your way on the sidewalk is totally bonkers. Like I would double take. I think anybody would double take on that, right? And because she had her kids and her family around, she was trying to set the example of not letting anybody, push you around or say those kind of things unchecked, and decided to confront this lady.
And she did not. I immediately, when I was already beside her, I immediately went back in front of her and I said, that was not kind. You should not say that. And the kind thing to do is that we both move out of each other's way. You should not expect people to move out of your way. You do not own the sidewalk. She did not like my answer. And I was like, so are you going to move out of my way now? And she said, absolutely not. I will not be moving out of your way. And I said, okay, that's fine. I can stand here all night. I will not be moving out of your way. And she said, okay, well, I have nowhere else to be. I said, honey, I can do this all day. So that's what I did. So then I was like, okay, I'm guessing we're going to be two little lovebirds. And I'm guessing she did not like the fact that I was not mad or I was not showing any anger, because that right there set her off enough to literally punch me right here. She just hit me right here and then threw me and to push me out of the way.
So according to Bianca's side of the story, it was our Karen who threw the first punch here, which is perhaps unsurprising. But not just a punch, she punched her in the neck and then threw her, it sounds like, against the wall, which is clearly assault and obviously illegal.
And I looked at her and I said, absolutely not. I immediately chokehold her and I started throwing hands. That's what I did. I started throwing hands. You don't touch me. All right, my time is running out. Go to part 2.
And thus Bianca becomes one of the first people in history to literally fight a Karen. Now, I'm sure some people will say in the comments, you shouldn't hit back on an old lady. It's like hitting back on like a kid or something. But you know what? Like, keep your hands to yourself. You don't just get to do whatever you want because you're old. Sorry.
Part 2 of the lady that assaulted me because I did not move out of her way on the sidewalk. My mom comes in and is pushing her off of me. And I'm guessing Miss Sandy, that's her name. Miss Sandy thought that I was just going to move out of her way after she punched me in the neck. Absolutely not. I went right back where I was standing and I looked at her and I said, I am not going to move. You can move. I will not be moving. And that's when she starts yelling help and fire and going crazy and berserk. And when she said ice and ISIS, I realized, oh, you're just mad because of the color of my skin.
So she didn't just automatically assume this was like a skin color or ethnicity thing, right? It was only after she made that comment, apparently, that she went, oh, that's why she's being so rude to me.
She then ended up just going around me and walking up the sidewalk. And I was like, where are you going? We already called the police. This is assault. You do not get to touch me. The police will be here. Where are you going? Homegirl, shoves into my brother-in-law for what? I don't know. And my brother-in-law was like, can you stop with the violence?
Okay, so she assaulted the brother-in-law as well as Bianca. That's now 2 separate assault charges.
And she turns around like if she's demonically possessed and sees me and runs towards me and attacks me again. She literally goes and just starts scratching at me. And I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? And I'm just getting her off of me, trying to defend myself as best as I could, because this lady was so much taller than me, long ass arms, looking like damn Slender Man. And she's just coming at me. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you still fighting me?
This is a scrappy old lady. Good Lord.
She turns around and she ends up walking away. And she's like, how dare you have these children out? And I'm like, what is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you? And she starts literally running towards a restaurant, and we're following her because the police is about to hear. She's running away. I'm like, she is not going to get away with this. So we follow her into the restaurant that she goes into, right?
Okay, so our Karen is now fleeing the scene of the crime, but Bianca and her family are in hot pursuit.
And obviously we're not going to run into the restaurant after her. So the manager comes out and she's like, what is going on with you guys? Why are you harassing this woman? And I'm like, ma'am, she just attacked us. She just attacked us. So I was like, we're waiting on my sister told her, like, we're waiting on the police. Like, she is in there, trying to run away from us. Like, she just assaulted us 30 seconds ago. And so the manager's like giving us like this snobby ass attitude.
So the manager here is siding against them and protecting this woman, it sounds like, even though this manager has no idea what's going on. But to be fair, if someone, ran into my restaurant after a little old lady and told me like, hey, that lady just went like psycho rabid and like attacked and punched all of us and shoved my brother, I would be like, what, really? What, this frail woman? This, really? It's just not something you see every day.
And finally, the sheriff arrives, and the first thing out of the sheriff's mouth is, so are you guys the problem?
Okay, so Karen attacks. Karen runs away. They chase Karen into the restaurant. The manager freaks out at them and kind of seems like he's taking her side. And now the police are here and apparently automatically assumed that it was their fault.
So as soon as the police officer said, are you guys the problem? I immediately started shaking. Tears just started rolling down my face because I realized that like the police get there and you think they're there to protect you when in reality, I still have to defend myself even further.
Okay, and the "are you guys the problem" comment when they showed up, not cool. Shouldn't have said that at all. But important to keep in mind here that this story is wild, and these police show up after everything has happened and before they talk to anybody, so they have no idea what's going on here. They just probably heard a couple snippets of this totally insane-sounding story about this little old lady who apparently has rabies. So, they gotta collect everybody's stories and everything before they can just like hop in and arrest somebody.
Immediately after, my husband pulls me to the side and he's like, babe, I need you to wipe those tears. I need you to get it together. You do not have the privilege to break down right now. Your family needs you. If you were white, you could cry, you could do whatever you want, but you're not white, you are brown. And he is not going to listen to you if you are an emotional wreck. And as heart-wrenching as that was, I knew he was telling the truth because it was true. Like, I knew I was not going to be listened to if I was an emotional wreck. So I like wiped my tears. I went to the officer and I was like, I have video footage that we did not start this. She is the one that attacked us. Now I need you guys to remember that. I need you guys to remember that I told the officer I have video footage. And so then, as soon as I say that, this white man walks up behind me and he tells the officer the same thing. Like, he was like, I've actually been watching all of this. I was putting up like a stand that he had from the festival that had happened. He's like, I was watching all of this. They did not instigate any of this. This was all her. And I am here to be a witness. And I am so thankful for him. Whoever you are, thank you for using your privilege. Thank you for using it for what's right. I appreciate you so much. As soon as he said that, this man's coworker calls him and he's like, hey man, like, this lady is like running towards her car. Like, she's not in the restaurant anymore. Like, she's running towards her car. And so we tell the officer that, and the officer like walkie-talkies his other like coworkers or whatever. And this lady was like running for it. And I thought that was going to be more than enough proof to show that she was hiding something, but apparently not. Go to Pop 4. I'm already.
So not only do they apparently have video evidence of all this going down, but on top of that, they have like a star witness that was right there and saw the whole thing and leapt to their defense.
So as the officers are getting to her vehicle, they are literally interrogating her for a good hour. They don't even come and ask us any questions. Absolutely nothing. They are literally just talking to her. Nothing else. Shortly after, the city officer, so like the city official and the sheriff, come and talk to me because apparently this was in the city's jurisdiction. So the sheriff had no jurisdiction. You remember the sheriff that said, are you guys the problem? Yeah, him. And they both come up to us and immediately the sheriff sees my son is filming, my family's filming, everyone's filming what's going on. And he looks at me and he said, this filming is the narrative that puts everything in like wrongdoing.
Filming is the narrative that puts everything in wrongdoing. So this guy was a poet, apparently. That obviously is total drivel and doesn't make any sense, but it sounds like he's accusing them of being in the wrong for recording the police.
And my sister behind me says, we are filming for our own safety. There are a lot of racist officers and we need to make sure that we get justice for what's done for us, what was done to us. And he's like, I understand, but like, this is just what's wrong with today's society. And I just look at him and he's like, well, would you mind if we talk to you in private? So they actually pull me to the side away from my family. And the city officer was like, well, you know, there's just a lot of she says, you say, she's claiming that you guys were harassing her.
Keep in mind from earlier here that she did already tell them she had everything on video. And they also have a witness.
She's claiming that you guys like were harassing her all the way to the restaurant, and like there's just no proof to like, you know, prove that any of this really happened the way it was. So you guys can actually go up and like file a claim and da 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 da. And I'm looking at the sheriff like this because remember, I told him I have video footage of all of this. So I look at him and I'm like, I turn to her and I'm like, he didn't tell you? And she's like, he didn't tell me what? And I was like, I have video footage. And she's like, yeah, but like, it's like one thing. And I was like, no. I have video footage before it went violent, before she got aggressive. I have video footage from the beginning. And she just looks at him and looks at me and she's like, would you mind seeing it? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, I'll show you right now. And she was like, okay. And I hand her my phone and she's like, can I put it in front of my camera? And I was like, absolutely. So she's looking at it. It didn't even take her 30 seconds for her to see the first time that she like decked me. And she was like, oh, okay, here you go. And immediately goes and arrests her. I started crying. I legit started crying.
Wow, lucky she had that recording, right? Imagine if her family had not recorded from the very beginning of this incident. Even with the star witness guy, apparently they were just gonna let this go. Instead, they arrested her on the spot.
She came back to me after she was arrested, gave me the case number, and she's like, I'm so sorry you went through that. Because take into consideration, all of this was red and bruised, like not bruised, but like red, inflamed. I had a huge lump on my forehead. I had scratches all over me. Like, this was legit, like I was assaulted. And for me to have to go through all of this in order to get this done literally puts it in perspective why brown people do not get the justice they deserve. They have to jump through hoops in order to get there. And that's taking away the consideration that I have the mental, emotional stability to really calm myself down, ground myself, and be able to hold a conversation with an officer to explain and defend myself on a situation I did not cause.
And finally, Bianca reveals that they had just been to court as she was recording this final piece of the puzzle story, right? They had just been to court and they had a verdict on Karen's punishment, and punished she was.
Obviously, last Thursday, December the 1st, we went to court and she pleaded guilty to assault and she served time in jail. And I look at my family and I'm like, that's because me, my sister, my brother-in-law, my husband all knew the language. We all knew how to defend ourselves. We all knew how to ground ourselves from our emotions and be able to hold a actual educated conversation with the officers, and we didn't lose our shit. That's how we got a conviction. That being said, Sandy Jean Allen, I hope you learn, and I hope you think twice before being racist to another brown person in public again.
And at this point, you might be wondering, where's the footage of the fight that they showed to the police? Well, Bianca posted a quick snippet of it on her Instagram, though the longer version that she posted apparently kept getting taken down for community guidelines problems. So, in the end, it turns out that you actually can't just attack people and get away with it, at least usually, or when it's recorded from start to finish. And the cops, after apologizing to Bianca, according to her earlier story, did do what they were supposed to do here after seeing Bianca and her family's abundant evidence of how the whole thing went down. And it also looks like the courts and the jury agreed, because she was punished. She got convicted for assault. And she'll have had a whole bunch of time to reflect on herself and her decisions in county jail by now, I'd think, although she probably didn't do a year. Maybe she got some community service, I don't know. I wish I could tell you what her exact sentence was, but I found it really impossible to find her court documents, and frankly, I'm not very good at that yet when it comes to like county and smaller stuff, but I'm trying to get better. Because I know that people like to see that, and frankly I do too, but we can be absolutely certain that she was convicted for assault, and she did apparently spend some time in jail. Okay, that's our show for today. Please leave your thoughts, feelings, and concerns in the comments below. I'm going to get to work on this week's big Public Freakouts Unleashed episode, so I'll see you soon.